Afternoon, everybody. I'm Mike Howard, Connections Charging Manager for Electricity North West. We set this webinar up today just to give you an overview of our new network management system and the changes that we're going to have to incorporate to facilitate its use. So we're going to cover quite briefly today the overview, what's changing in the industry, e.g. why we have to do this, our old network management system against the new one, any key changes, what does it mean to you as ICPs, next steps moving forward, and any questions. Hopefully we'll get through it quite quickly, so we'll give you a bit of time back at the end. So just to give you an overview of it, we gave an ICP workshop in January with a similar sort of presentation where we gave a very high-level view on our new NMS system, which is Network Management System. We need to introduce this NMS system to give us better connectivity for all our software, our networks, just to future-proof our systems. And unfortunately, to do this, it will mean a few changes to the connections processes, which we hopefully will cover in brief detail today. We do have some more work to flesh those actual details out later on. We'd like you to give us any feedback either on the webinar or on any new processes. If you send that through to the ICE mailbox, we'll pick that up and respond in due course. So, what's changing in the industry? A couple of graphs on here. On the left-hand side, we've looked at the domestic demand profile in 2012. The left axis is the demand in kilowatt hours, and the bottom axis is the time of day, and it's split by typical appliances. So it's showing you the kilowatt hours in 2012 and the period of time that we saw that load, or we experienced that load. The bottom graph is the predicted demand in 2025 when we move to less fossil fuel heating, etc. And as you can see, it is predicted, but the peak demand is significantly higher, and the period when the demand is required is increased significantly. Also, looking at it now, we've got a lot more localized generation to the networks. The network model's changing. We don't take as much generation from grid. We'll be taking it through the distribution system. So we're now looking at it to say, how do we manage this from an end-to-end process? And we recognise that we have a couple of systems that we use. One's a CRMS system, which is our control room management system. That's the existing system. And the new one will be the network management system, which is what we're looking to bring in. Just a bit of an overview. CRMS, it's created quite a while ago. Technologies have improved since its inception. It's nearing obsolescence. It is aging. It's reaching its capacity of what it can do, so hence we have to change. We do need a higher level of IT security than what CRMS can provide, mainly because of all the interactivity within distribution networks. There's a lot more automation on there. A lot of it's done more remote through these systems. And in a world now where we are getting more network data, e.g. smart meters, etc., we can see low profile. CRMS won't model that load as we would like. So the NMS system will allow us to innovate and continue to innovate. It will be fully interactive electrical model, so it gives real-time feedback. We can incorporate the low carbon technologies and all the smart meters, etc., so all the information can come into it. So we're hoping it will deliver customer service, customer interruptions, customer minutes lost, and hopefully it'll help with connection projects where we're looking at maybe less reinforcement or different ways of connections. So just as another overview, the key changes to the system. At the minute, the way we operate through CRMS and our other ones for LV type systems, it's all done retrospectively, it's all done through the ASLAY process. So our network connectivity model is always lagging behind the actual network. The HV is slightly better because you have switching programs and you're booking outages in and out. But going forwards, we need the interconnectivity on the LV network as well. So the key changes are going to be, for plan, as plan work, we're going to require pre-laid drawings, and I'll cover that a bit later on. It is going to be required for HV and LV mains. However, we're going to carry on with the ASLAY process for LV services, unmetered, etc. We need it to define the network to show what it looks like after the connection, and we need that before the connection so that the model can be built up. And we also need it geographically, whereas as for HV, etc., whilst we would have relied on the ASLAY for the geographical, we would have used it for the connections type work. What I do need to say, though, is this doesn't replace the ASLAY process. That will carry on as it is. That's the one that confirms everything. So we've got an outage planning tool now, and the main change is that all HV and LV work will be scheduled through the outage planning tool. That generates a work request for our NMS and allows the information to be uploaded in real time, or as near real time as we can get. But we do need additional information to do that, and we need to give you additional information yet with who to contact, when things are done, how it's submitted. In addition, on the day of the works, under HV connections at the minute, done through switching schedules, etc., there is a real-time communication with our control room. Going forward, NMS requires that for the LV, especially the LV mains. So once we have the pre-laid model, it will require a call into an LV type control scenario and a call out of that again, so that our staff can then update the model to give you that real-time information as quick as possible. So just as an overview, what does it mean to you as ICPs? Well, schemes affected is going to be all HV schemes, but that should be no different than the process we've got now. You may see a difference in the forms, but it still will carry on very similar to what it is now. LV, though, will be looking for pre-laid drawings, and we'll be looking for you to ring into control excuse me, before any extension assets are connected to one of our mains cables. What isn't affected is any unmetered, as I just said, and any service connections. However, if you're building a DNO adopted housing estate, we do need to see on the pre-laid the service connections and the phasing. So we will need the information, but as each service comes on board, you just don't need to follow the process to ring in. So the planning stage, the connection process will remain exactly as it is. You'll apply for a point of connection, etc. Self-determine your point of connection. You'll go through that, get it accepted, submit design approvals, or do self-design approval. But before the connection can take place, we will need the pre-laid drawing for LV as well as HV. That can be your design drawing, but it does need details of any phasing to any sites on. So if it's a DNO adopted housing estate, it might mean adding a bit more information on the phasing, i.e. what are we likely to see on that first connection, and then any subsequent connections to the mains cables. It does need to be geographical because that's how our model works, and it definitely needs to show all the electrical connectivity. So that's where the phasing becomes important. So we need to see the whole site, but then split up into what you're going to connect in the phasing period you've got. In addition, we do need, that information we need 7 days prior to the actual jointing onto the network. And again, I'm concentrating this really on the LV side because the HV won't change much. We are creating a system amendment record, which will be a pack for you to complete. It will have a few sections in there, and I've tried to give an example on there, although it's still in development, so we'll communicate this a bit better closer to the time. It'll consist of a front sheet, which just gives us details of sites, who you are, when you're connecting, etc. You can see an example on the screen just to the right there. Apologies, it's probably not massive, but say we will send the pack out as soon as we can. We'll need a before drawing. So I've just picked a drawing up there that really shows a bit of our network as it currently is. That's just an extract from our GIS system, so you should be able to do that, download that and cut and paste that onto the SARS form. And it will require a network connection afterwards. Again, this can be a design drawing. Whilst I recognise this isn't very clear and it's a high level scale, if you look to the bottom left, you'll see the ENW network before, and you can see the extension assets there and going into site for those are the assets that we are going to adopt. That's the typical drawing we need to enable this system to work. In addition, that's all submitted before, 7 days before, ready to be uploaded. So in addition, on the day of the connection, the HV will stay as it is. That will be done by switching programs, etc. The LV, though, will have a similar process to the HV. So we're expecting probably your jointer, when he's sat there just before he makes the connection, to ring in to say that's what he's about to do. Our hub tech then will take the information you've already submitted and load it as a network patch into the NMS system, but leave it in a dead state, so it's isolated from the system. We're expecting your jointer or one of your staff to call the hub tech once the jointing is finished, i.e. the connection is made, so the interconnectivity is through on the model. Our hub tech then will then make the extension assets live on our system. Really, that's the only change we're going to ask for. Like I say, unmetered, we will follow the same process as we do now, and services, the only change to it is we expect when you're doing the mains to submit the prelay to show all the services that you're going to incorporate. But as each service is, as you get called off a service from the developer, we're not expecting you to ring in on every single service to mains joint. So it's mainly just the interconnectivity on the mains to show how our LV network is operating. IDNO assets, this will work in the same way, but we would only want to see the extension asset that we are adopting. So it would just show a load point at the end and state IDNO, etc. We don't need to see the full IDNO network assets. So the next steps we're going to go through, we are going to create the SARS pack or refine the SARS pack, and we will probably issue it to all the ICPs and ask for comments. We would like to undertake a trial of this before we actually roll this out to everybody. We'd like to get 2 or 3 ICPs who would undertake the trial, so if any volunteers, again, please email into the ICE mailbox. We're probably going to limit the trial to just 2, possibly 3 ICPs, just so that we can concentrate on the learning from that and the aspects of when they're doing the work. We'll then review that feedback, and then we will roll into implementation, but we'll obviously brief this out again in our ICP forums. We'll probably do another WebEx if the timings don't line up, just to say that this is coming live, and we'll have the actual documents then with all the contact details on, etc. Implementation for this, we're looking at the trial to begin around October. So if we can identify a couple of ICPs who would like to be involved in the trial, we will contact them and work with them from now to October to get to a position where they can hit the ground running. And then we're looking for implementation January 2020, that should say. Apologies, there's a mistake on the slide there. That then, like I say, we will brief that probably end of November, December time. That's subject to the process we've got ongoing now, staying to the timescales that we predict. So really, that's the end of the webinar at the moment. This is just to give you the overview of what's going to happen, what changes we have to facilitate, and why we're doing it. Is there any questions? No, none at all?
I have a question.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, well, we only produce the design for sort of A&W to approve. Are you expecting any sort of 3 dimensions on there and stuff like that for the assets, or are you just looking for sort of it showing geographically within the existing area?
So what we're looking for at the minute is the pre-laid could possibly be your design drawing, but with the phasing details on to show when the load's going to be connected. And when I say phasing, it might be you're going to connect the first 20 plots January 2020, the next 20 plots February 2020, etc. We totally accept that you might hit a problem and have to slightly deviate from the route, and that will be picked up with the as-laid process.
Right,
so the pre-laid is really looking at interactivity and the load we're expecting to see coming on board and roughly when. We know it's not going to be 100% perfect because things happen on site, etc. And again, through the trial, we're going to have a look at it through the trial to see what sort of accuracy comes through compared to when the as-laid comes through. But the majority of the cases, we're hoping there'll not be too much difference.
That's great then. Yeah, I think should be all right. We should be able to follow the build program, which should sort of tie up to the connection program.
And we know, with the best will in the world, if a builder sells a property, he'll want you to connect it there and then. So we're not, we are expecting to have those things crop up every now and again. But we're hoping we've constructed this in a way that gives us the information we need to build an interconnectivity on the model, but gives you the flexibility to not be sort of hamstrung to it.
Okay, that's fair enough. I think that's all. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Anybody else got any other questions? No? Does any ICP want to volunteer to do the trial? Silence is deafening. If you do, just email the ICE mailbox. That way we'll pick up and start communications next week, the week after with those ICPs. We will put this on the website, and we have been recording a webinar, so hopefully we'll get that on the website too, but it may take us a few days just to get the information off our WebEx system. In the interim, if there's any questions that you can think of, or any issues you can think that we might not have thought about or covered, please email the ICE mailbox. Just put them in. We'll get a response to you as quickly as we can. If there's nothing else, we'll end the webinar there.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thanks to everyone for taking the time to join us.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.